Hello and welcome back to Road Trip Through the Bible. This study series is being brought to you by the Union Congregation of the Lord's Church at Somerville, Alabama. We want to invite you to come visit with us and worship with us anytime you're in our area. We're visiting Mt Moriah on our road trip, and we've learned that in Genesis chapter 22, this was at least close to the area of Abraham's offering of his only son Isaac to God. We're going to go forward now about 900 or so years, and we're going to find the mention of Mount Moriah again in God's Word. In fact, in 2 Chronicles 3 verses 1 and 2, we read, "Now Solomon began to build the house of the Lord at Jerusalem on Mount Moriah, where the Lord had appeared to his father David, at the place that David had prepared on the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite. And he began to build on the second day of the second month in the fourth year of his reign." So this is the location now that God's chosen people, the children of Abraham, had come back to build the first temple to God. Wow. To think about coming that full circle, the things that had happened to these people over that 900 years. They had had prosperity, they had been in bondage in Egypt, they had wandered in the wilderness, they had had all these things, and God brought them back to a spot within a few hundred yards at least of where Abraham had offered his only son Isaac. That's tremendous. That shows us God's loyalty, that shows us God's consistency and his trueness to his people. In order to learn how this place came about to come there, we've got to go back about another 50 years to Solomon's dad, his father, David, when David was king. This whole account is given to us very thoroughly in 1 Chronicles chapter 21, and I'd encourage you to read that. It's a very interesting story, and it tells us exactly how this came to be, this location. But just a quick synopsis of the story, of the account of David and the reason for Mount Moriah being the place for the location for the temple, is that David had decided on his own to number the children of Israel. This displeased God very much. God sent Gad, which was David's seer or his prophet, to tell David how much it displeased God. And of course, David was a man after God's own heart. He wanted to please God. He repented of it, and there were still consequences to pay for the sin. God gave David three choices of those consequences. David basically threw himself at the mercy of God and said, "You do what's best for you because I trust you." The one God chose was a pestilence, whatever that was, that he sent on the children of Israel. And we don't know exactly what that pestilence was, I don't guess, but at any rate, 70,000 men of Israel died. And David saw that this was going on, of course, and God decided that that was enough, and he stopped his angel that was doing this, that was basically putting to death the children of Israel. And guess where he stopped him? He stopped him at the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite, which was Mount Moriah. That's tremendous when we think about that. David was able to look out of his palace and see actually the angel of the Lord, angel of God, between heaven and earth with his sword outstretched to Jerusalem to kill Jerusalem, to to put to death the people of Jerusalem whenever God stopped this. David went to this spot, Mount Moriah. He bought the threshing floor of Ornan, and he built an altar there and worshiped God and gave thanks to God for surviving all of this. Then he began to stockpile all the different sources of supplies that would be needed to build the temple, because this is where the temple would be built by Solomon, his son. I guess I've always wondered, why would God have gotten so upset about David just numbering the people? And there's probably several answers for this, but two of them I think that promise to be good answers to that is, one is that, of course, that David displeased God simply because he didn't obey God. David did this thing on his own. He did not follow God's guidance in doing so. It upsets God when we don't follow what he wants us to do. And also I feel like that possibly David put limits on God by doing this. You see, the victories that were being given to the Israelites and to David wasn't because they had a huge army. It was because God gave them victory. It was entirely up to God to give them the victory, and he did. And in counting, it would be kind of like them putting it that, hey, we did this. Look at our great army. But you see, God didn't need that. He didn't care how many there was, how big the army was. I heard Brother Jerry Jenkins say one time several years ago that one person plus God is always the majority. One plus God is always the majority. That's absolutely the truth. There's been a lot of events at Mount Moriah over the years. It's right near the Mount of Olives. It's right near Calvary, Golgotha. Today, the temple that Herod built on that site, the remains of it are we call the Western Wall or the Wailing Wall. It's a very important site to the Jewish religion. There's a lot that's happened there. And I hope that you'll study deeper into God's Word and find those different things that have happened there, and see the truth and the eternalness of God in all things. If you would like to study this or anything else in God's Word, I hope that you would contact any of us, myself or any of us at Union, and we'd be glad to study with you. I hope for you peace, and I hope for you comfort, and I hope for you to learn God's Word and apply it to your lives. Thank you for being with us.